The late 15th century was not merely a violent time, it was a moment when old systems were failing all at once. Feudal loyalty was eroding, gunpowder was rewriting warfare, popes raised armies, cities were ruled like private corporations. Italy was not a country, it was a fault line, and standing directly on that fault line was a woman history struggles to categorise. Caterina Sforza was not a queen, and she was not a general in name. She was not meant to rule anything at all. Yes, she commanded fortresses, dictated policy, and made men with armies hesitate, not because the system allowed her to, but because the system was collapsing, and she understood it faster than anyone else. Catherine was born in 1463 into one of the most dangerous families in Europe. The Sforza dynasty did not rule Milan through legitimacy, they ruled through violence, contracts and mercenaries. Her father, Galeazzo Maria Sforza, was feared even by his allies. Chroniclers describe public torture, sexual coercion and rule by terror. In 1476 he was assassinated inside a cathedral, stabbed to death before the altar. This was Catherine's first lesson. Power is never permanent, it must be defended every day. Illegitimate she may have been, but the Sforza did not waste talent. She was educated, not as a decorative noblewoman, but as a political asset. Trained to observe councils, taught how land was taxed and governed, and instructed in riding, weapons and fortifications. She grew up understanding something most rulers never admit. Castles are not symbols, they are machines. At the age of 10, Caterina was sent south to marry Girolamo Riario, nephew of Pope Sixtus IV. This was not a marriage, it was a territorial transaction. Through papal authority, the Riario family acquired Imola and Forli, cities that controlled roads, trade, and military movement across Romagna. Girolamo governed on paper, Caterina governed in practice. Observers noted that she attended military briefings, inspected the walls personally, and learned which captains could be trusted. She was not content to be protected, she wanted to know how protection worked. When Pope Sixtus IV died in August 1484, Rome collapsed into chaos. Girolamo Riario had accumulated immense power under papal protection and just as many enemies. The moment Sixtus was gone, those enemies struck. Riario's supporters were attacked, their homes looted, and his residence near Capo di Fiori was ransacked almost to ruin. Authority evaporated. 7 months pregnant, Caterina did not flee. She crossed the Tiber on horseback and seized Castel Sant'Angelo, the great papal fortress overlooking the Vatican. Whoever held it controlled Rome's artillery and the physical approach to St. Peter's itself. From its walls, Caterina could watch the Vatican and threaten it. Cardinals arriving for the funeral feared entering the city. Some refused to attend conclave at all. Yet, without a new pope, the violence could not end. Caterina refused to surrender the fortress. She declared she would hand it over only to the legitimately elected pope. Negotiations followed. Girolamo accepted a deal. Caterina did not. Only when pressed by both husband and cardinals did she finally yield on the 25th of October 1484. She left Rome having achieved her aim. For weeks she had not ruled the city, she had held the papacy itself hostage. In April 1488, Girolamo Riario was assassinated in Forli by the Orsi family. The palace was looted, power collapsed, and Caterina and her 6 children were taken prisoner, but the conspirators made a fatal mistake. The fortress of Ravaldino refused to surrender. Its commander remained loyal, not to the city, not to the Orsi, but to Caterina alone. Caterina offered to negotiate. She entered Ravaldino, leaving her children behind as hostages. Once inside, she revealed her intent. She denounced the conspirators, she threatened vengeance, and she declared their leverage worthless. And from this, we have one of the most persistent legends of any medieval woman. Caterina, standing on the walls of the fortress, lifted her dress, exposing her genitals, and shouted, "Do it, if you want to. Hang them even in front of me. Here I have what's needed to make others." Whether this is true or not is not known. What is supported is that Caterina declared herself pregnant. Whether true or strategic, this rendered her children politically useless as hostages. The Orsi hesitated. With Milanese support from her uncle, Ludovico il Moro, Caterina crushed the rebellion. Executions followed. From that day on, Romagna learned her name properly, the Tigress of Forli. Caterina ruled as regent, but in practice as sovereign. She reinforced city walls and border strongholds, ensuring her territories could not be taken by surprise. She imposed strict discipline on mercenary companies, knowing loyalty followed order and reliable pay. When unrest surfaced, she moved swiftly and decisively, crushing rebellion before it could spread and doing so publicly as a warning. She understood that hesitation bred defiance. Authority delayed was authority denied. Foreign courts addressed her as an equal, not as a placeholder. Military captains respected her, contracts and her coin. Enemies weighed her word carefully, knowing she neither bluffed nor forgot. She did not rule gently, but she did rule efficiently and effectively. In 1499, César Borgia entered Romagna with French cannon and papal authority. Caterina responded with something extraordinary. She asked the people of Forli a question rarely posed by rulers: whether they wished to surrender or endure a siege. They hesitated. So Caterina released them from their oath of loyalty. She refused to let fear make them complicit. Then she sealed herself inside the fortress of Ravaldino. This was no longer a city's wall, it was hers alone. French artillery battered walls built for an older world. Stone designed for ladders and arrows shattered under cannon fire. Caterina remained visible on the ramparts throughout the bombardment, not hidden, not pleading, not absent. When Ravaldino fell, it was not because she fled, but because medieval fortresses could no longer withstand modern artillery. She was captured, Machiavelli watched, and he never forgot her. Caterina was eventually released, and she withdrew to Florence. Once again she reinvented herself. Deprived of armies and walls, she turned to knowledge. She studied medicine, chemistry, pharmacology, and toxicology, not as a mere curiosity, but as a discipline. Caterina compiled remedies, poisons, antidotes, and treatments into a manuscript known as the Experimenti. More than 400 recorded formulations. This was not courtly superstition or inherited folklore. It was observation, testing, and refinement, a private laboratory of the mind. In an age where women were excluded from formal science, she documented dosage, preparation, and effect with precision. Power had been taken from her, inquiry had not. Even when stripped of titles and territory, Caterina refused ignorance and chose mastery instead. Caterina Sforza stands at a crossroads between feudal castles and gunpowder states, between medieval loyalty and modern coercion, between papal nepotism and the rise of centralised power, between a symbolic authority and force that could no longer be negotiated. She understood what many rulers did not, that lineage was losing to artillery, that walls were yielding to cannon, that personal rule was giving way to administrative states. Caterina was not exceptional because she was a woman who ruled. She was exceptional because she ruled correctly for her time, with speed, discipline, and clarity, and because she recognized when that time had ended. She did not mistake tradition for security, and she did not confuse legitimacy with survival. Few rulers are defeated by enemies. Most are defeated by the world changing beneath them. Caterina saw it coming. Caterina Sforza did not fall because she lacked resolve. She fell because the world she defended was already giving way. Her strength was never the problem. Her walls were. History moved faster than stone. Gunpowder erased the advantage of lineage, courage, and tradition in a single generation. She stood precisely where the Middle Ages ended, on ramparts built for arrows and ladders, facing cannon designed for a different future. This was not failure, it was transition. Caterina defended a system already dying, and she did so without illusion, apology, or retreat. The age changed, and she did not flinch. And as her tombstone says, she was fearless. With iron and fire she defended her kingdom. A wonderful example of energy and devotion at the end of the sad 15th century. Thank you for watching A Long Look, and until next time, take care.